What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. Join alongside Tim in Green Bay. Here to talk a little Packers Jaguars this evening as we are on the eve of this big matchup. I say big because every matchup in the NFL is big, in my opinion. Tim, how you doing this evening, sir?
Happy to be here, man. On the eve of the trap game that will not be a trap game.
There it is. Gotta make sure you don't overlook them. And listen, we know Matt LaFleur isn't overlooking anyone. The question is, the first thing, the heat, right? It's going to be a little bit warmer. Now, it's not going to be anything like it was. It's just funny to say it's not going to be anything like it was in Green Bay earlier this year.
Yeah, for the winter warning game. Yeah.
But, remember the game a few weeks back there where Josh Myers throws up on the ball and It was well into the 80s. So hopefully we'll stay out of the 80s for the most part of the game. But definitely going to get up to like 83, 85 by the time the day's over. So
I hope they bring like an extra oxygen tank, for the training staff, maybe a couple extra, IVs with some fluids.
Daddy soda.
Yeah. Get that daddy soda pump going,
Little cream ale flowing there.
Remember the old helmet with the 2 beer cans on the side and the straws, whatever you need, man.
Yeah, I wore one of those in my wedding, actually. I'm just joking. That did not happen. I'll tell you what would happen, though. All right, so let's talk a little Jacksonville Jaguars here, Tim. Before we do, little bit of news hit the wire earlier. Paul Brettel tweeted the Green Bay Packers, who said Robert Rochelle has been elevated ahead of the Green Bay versus Jacksonville game. And Paul Brettel had put in that quote tweet, Robert Rochelle elevated with Ballantyne doubtful. So I think all this is here, Corey Ballantyne's probably not going to go. We've seen the injury report earlier today, and if I remember correctly, he did not participate. He's the only one listed on the injury report as doubtful, which you guys know is a 75% chance they will not play, essentially. Nope. So no huge news here, but just wanted to point out that Robert Rochelle has been elevated, so definitely no Ballantyne tomorrow.
So get ready for a lot of Keyshawn on the boundary and all over the place, right? I don't anticipate seeing Robert Rochelle, lining up in the slot or anything. So it kind of affects us. It's big news in the sense of, how is the secondary going to look? But, yeah, this is kind of just par for the course, right?
Yeah, I think if Robert Rochelle comes into the game, I don't want to say you're in trouble. It means a couple of different things went wrong injury-wise, right, during the game.
Yeah, or it's just an absolute boat race, right? We're up like 35-0, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Definitely could be. I think that the plan will be, like you said, when you're facing 12 personnel, which, if I remember correctly, Jacksonville runs 20% of the time. So we should be in our base roughly 20% of the time, probably somewhere between 15 and 25% of the snaps. You'll be in base. So the rest of the time, the large majority of the day, you're going to be in your nickel set, right? So I would imagine how that'll look will be when you're in your base defense, your base 4-3, it'll be Keyshawn and Jair on the outside. When you go to your nickel, you'll have Javon Bullard in the slot, Keyshawn on the outside, Jair on the outside, obviously Evan Williams at safety, Xavier McKinney at safety. So if for some reason one of those 3 corners gets hurt or one of those 2 corners in our hybrid safety and Javon Bullard gets hurt, what will probably happen is you bring Stokes in to the outside and you kick Keyshawn into the slot. I would imagine that would be kind of the game plan. Don't you think there before you would see Robert Rochelle or one of those guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I would think Robert Rochelle will be your special teamer, most of the afternoon. And, he may get a snap or 2 on defense, depending, like you said. But I feel like the formula is, like you talked about, man. We're going to have a lot of Key, a lot of Jair, mixing things up with our safeties and some Javon Bullard in the slot for sure.
Yeah, definitely. We got Mr. Goat in the house. Said, hey, happy Saturday night football, fam. Happy Saturday night football to you, sir. We got college football on galore right now, Tim. First of all, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish took care of the Navy midshipmen earlier today.
As they should.
I tell you, man, they were undefeated, right? 6-0, ranked, 24th in the country, 25th in the country, somewhere around there. Notre Dame just beat the brakes off of them, man. And I never want to root heavy against any kind of military academy,
right.
But had to side with my Irish there. And then right now we got Kentucky and Auburn just kicked off. Wildcats are leading 3-0. LSU and Texas A&M seems to be kind of the game of the week. They're down there at Texas A&M. LSU's winning 3-0 right now. And then, of course, Wisconsin's actually beaten number 3 Penn State 3-0 at the moment. 2:54 left in the first quarter. So let's go Wisconsin. Let's pull off that upset. That would be absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
So, love that college football, man. It's been good this year, no doubt about it. Let's see what else we got in the chat here. Reef says, "Guy, I don't mind Reed splitting the punt return duties and Bo splitting the kick return duties." Yeah, it's for me, it's one of those things. We kind of talked about it earlier. We won't spend a whole lot of time on it, but I kind of just want Keyshawn doing both right now. I think Bo Melton's got the speed, the athleticism to be dynamic in one of those spots. We have no reason to believe that he's I don't want to say good, a serviceable even punt returner. It's one thing to say, hey, he's fast, he's quick, he's agile, he's got great change of direction, fluid motion. It's another thing to stare up in the air and wait to catch that ball while you got 11 grown-ass men bearing down on you, right? Like that's a different kind of cat. I just want Keyshawn doing it for ball security purposes right now.
Yep.
And, of course, that doesn't mean he's perfect. He's got stuff he's got to work on. Obviously, you've seen the mishap last week with the punt return. So, yeah, but as far as Bo, though, I think Bo would be better fit on a kickoff return because yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right now, I mean, Tim, is there anyone else on this team that you can truly say, I trust them returning punts other than Keyshawn Nixon? Because I'm having a hard time finding that guy.
Yeah, I'm there with you. And you summarize my whole logic for Bo, returning punts is he's got wheels, he's got good change of direction, he's got good downfield vision. But we're neglecting the important part. Can you catch a punt and not fumble it? So, yeah, I mean, we talked about the Amari Rodgers factor, like any one of these guys could easily be in that same situation. We talked about Jaden Reed kind of being in that situation where, when it comes to returning punts, it's a little dicey, but man, when you're on the field in the slot or on the boundary, hey, we feel great about it. So I think, when it comes down to it, I'm with you. I think he should be returning kicks and punts and playing on the boundary and playing in the slot and selling hot dogs and working the tailgate and bringing the water in, whatever it is. Have him do it all.
Definitely. Let's see. Zacchaeus in the chat says, I know Evan Williams is turning into a stud, but how is Javon Bullard doing? Haven't heard anything good or bad about him in a few weeks. Really what it comes down to with Bullard, when you look at his PFF grades and really when you turn on the tape, he's a stud at stopping the run. The way he attacks the football, I mean, he is really good. I would venture to say that he's just as good as Evan Williams at that. His problem is coverage right now. He's kind of struggled to pick up the coverage aspect of pro football. So we'll see. I think he'll only get better, and I think it's cool that he's getting those slot snaps. And if for some reason Evan Williams needs a break, obviously he's going to go safety opposite Xavier McKinney. So the way I'm looking at Bullard, at least what we've seen right now, hey, he's getting some much-needed experience, but Evan Williams, hands down, has been a better football player than him this year. Granted, it's still early, but how do you feel about that right there, Tim?
I would agree. I think if you look at these two rookies just head-to-head, like clearly Evan Williams is up to the task and is playing like a veteran. Let's be honest. He's playing like a veteran as a rookie. Javon Bullard has an extremely high ceiling, very talented, but he's taking time to progress, which is normal for a lot of rookie players in this league. So I think at the end of the day, we're going to look back and both of these dudes are going to be studs for us. But I just think Evan Williams is probably ahead of the curve right now.
Yeah. Got it. All right. Let's see. We had a couple things come across the wire earlier today. And I'm going to reiterate the Jaden Reed. Let's start with the Jaden Reed thing, first of all. We hit this, I think it was yesterday. PFF Green Bay Packers tweeted out, Jaden Reed can win from the slot versus the Jaguars. Reed's 377 receiving yards from the slot ranks second among all players this season. He should continue to produce against a Jacksonville defense that ranks 29th in yards allowed to slot receivers. Now, let's peel the onion back another layer here. PFF Green Bay Packers tweeted out, Romeo Doubs should be featured outside against the Jaguars defense. Doubs has recorded 282 receiving yards when lined up outside this season. Keep in mind, outside, guys, that means X or Z, right? Ranking 15th among wide receivers. The Jaguars defense ranks 32nd in yards allowed to outside receivers, presenting favorable opportunities for Doubs. So, again, when it comes to slot receivers, they're 29th at stopping that, Tim. And when it comes to outside receivers, they're dead last in the league. That's just a wild statistic there, man. So, Dobby and Jaden Reed, man, one of those two are going to blow up. So people
so much for leaning on the run, like I was suggesting. I think we're going to probably air it out tomorrow.
But Tim, like when you get this late in the season, though, sometimes these teams they recognize, hey, here's where we're really struggling, so they won't commit as many to the box and play a little more in coverage. That might trigger the run, right?
So that's a good point. They got so much film right now, right? You got 7-8 weeks of tape on yourself. That's a good point, Clayton.
Yeah, and again, that's what's so beautiful about the National Football League is like every single week these coaching staffs, they're seeing the same information we are, right? And they're going through, okay, well, we've got to button this up. If you've got to allocate more resources to stopping that pass or stopping that run, it should open up things for the other team. And it's why we were talking about like the game planning aspect. That first quarter is all about gathering information, right? You've basically did your due diligence scouting this team for probably a 6-game saturation, 2 head-to-head, last 4 of that team's games. And then, okay, here's how we're going to attack them. And then you come out with your openers and you see how they react to that plan. And then if they adjust that plan, you've got to adjust on the fly. That first quarter is all about gathering intel and adjusting your game plan. The second quarter is all about keeping that momentum, winning the middle 8 into the third quarter. And then the fourth quarter is that standalone game. Scratch everything off. Okay, what happened throughout this game? Here's the fourth quarter game plan.
Yep.
And again, that's how Belichick and his staff has always looked at it. I think got plenty of pelts on the wall there to say that's probably a pretty darn good way to approach it for sure. All right, so again, the big thing that's sticking out here as we move a little closer to game day, closer to kickoff, is their passing defense really, really bad, man. This might be that game that Jordan Love has an opportunity to absolutely blow up, right, and have one of those games where he throws for 310 yards and 4 touchdowns. That would be nice, just to kind of create a little more momentum moving forward. All I care about is that dub, though, man. I ain't gonna lie. That's all.
Yeah, for sure. We talked about O-line play in this game being a crucial factor, right? We keep J Money clean. Him and the boys are going to eat tomorrow, for all intents and purposes. If we start false starting and, holding penalties and moving backwards and pockets collapsing, we're going to have a problem maybe potentially with this Jaguars team. Could be closer than we'd like it to be, but I'm with you, man. Put Bird in the slot, put Bird in motion, split Rome out wide, let them guys cook. And while the Jaguar secondary tries to figure out, what the hell to do with those 2 guys, Christian Watson will be running, butt naked through the trailer park, catching bombs. So I'm all for it, man. But everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right? As has been said before. So you never know what happens once kickoff happens. So we'll see.
Yep. And all it takes is like a kickoff, opening kickoff, fumble the ball, turn the ball over. Now you're down by 7, and it's throw the game plan out the window. That's that punched in the mouth you're talking about, right?
Exactly. So, or that crazy gadget play on 1st and 10. You think you're easing into a game, and all of a sudden they hit you with the reverse, or they hit you with the a Hail Mary out of the gate or something. Kind of like we did to Detroit on Thanksgiving last year. The bomb to Christian Watson to start the game.
Yep.
That's the tone, man. So you always got to be ready to go from the moment you step on that field, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Dwayne in the chat said, "Where's Jacob the Beard? I haven't seen him in a minute." Jacob, we've said this several times, and I know everybody doesn't get to watch the show all the time. Jacob's working a lot. I talked to him the other day. He's good. Everything's good. Good on his end. When he gets some freed up time, he's going to jump back on the show. As always, he knows he's welcome. So try not to put too much pressure on him. I definitely miss talking ball with my boys. So he'll be back soon enough. I promise you that. I've always said in the past too, like I told Tim, we all joke, I'm like, Jacob's that free spirit. Let me tell you, Jacob does what he wants to do, and he does it when he wants to do it. And he's like that old dog that you don't see him for 3 months, and all of a sudden you come home from work one day and it's sitting on the front porch. You're like, "Hey, what's up, man?"
And it's like he never left. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
It's all good.
And so for people to completely understand too, like Tim was a listener of the show. Okay. Jacob was a listener of the show. Emilio, same thing. Emilio used to email me and text me all the time on our text line. So much like the McAfee show, all the guys that are with his crew on his show were people that kind of listened to the show, and Pat interviewed and brought them on board. So Jacob was just a listener. He has no obligation to do the show. He just he's always going to have the link and always welcome in here. So Same thing with Tim and Emilio. So that's how it came about. It isn't something where we're like, hey, let's put out an application. Let's see who qualifies to do this. I'm like, hey, man, you reach out to me a lot, man. Why don't you hop on? Let's talk some ball. So that's how we came about. Let's get to the keys to the game according to Next Gen Stats, Tim. First one, it says Xavier McKinney, Evan Williams. The Packers' Evan Williams, 78.6%, which is second, and Xavier McKinney, 75.0%, which is fourth. Both ranked top 5 in coverage success rate among safeties with at least 50 coverage snaps. Xavier McKinney has a league-high 5 interceptions this season, and Evan Williams has the fourth highest tight window percentage, which is at 35.7% among safeties with at least 10 targets this season. Man, if I remember correctly, too, they really like to try to push the ball down the field, they being the Jaguars. Might not want to try it tomorrow because there's a couple ball hawks back there in that
hopefully
segment.
They do. Hopefully they do try it.
Yes, that would be great. No doubt about it, man. I'm really excited to see how they attack, and I haven't had a chance to look at too much of their film. I went back and watched the Jaguars Patriots game in London, and they caught a lot of breaks, man. I think they had a punt. It was either a punt return or a kick return for a touchdown. Listen, the Patriots are not a good football team. It's kind of hard to look at that and take anything away from the tape, but maybe if we have time, we'll dig in and kind of look at some of the concepts they like to run on their explosive plays. But, yeah, as far as them throwing the ball, though, they're probably going to want to be patient back there with Xavier McKinney in the backfield and obviously Evan Williams. Whenever they do bring X into the box, they got to worry about Evan back there who's just playing outside of his damn mind right now. It's insane. Next key to the game, Tank Bigsby. It says Tank Bigsby has recorded a league high. I'm going to say that again, a league high 5.3 yards after contact per carry and fourth highest missed tackle force rate at 37.3% among running backs with at least 25 carries this season. Bigsby has been effective at getting extra yards as he has generated plus 2.4 rushing yards over expected per carry. That's third best in the league, and the sixth lowest rate of runs that generate 0 or fewer yards at 11.9%. If they're going to win this,
in other words, here's a guy.
Yeah,
that's the dude to be concerned about. Yeah.
Definitely got to figure out a way to slow down that running attack, and I'll tell you the best way to do that is jump out to an early lead, right? That's how you neutralize that running game for sure. So Tank Bigsby, one to watch out for here in tomorrow's matchup against the Jaguars.
You guys got to make their tackles in the open field. First contact, you got to put him on the turf, because if they like to push the ball and they got a running back like this, you know what I'm thinking, right? They're gonna try to establish that run and run play action off of it. Try and do the same kind of thing, that we do. And I fully expect Trevor Lawrence to try and take shots down the field if Bigsby is running up the gut on us all day. So if we're good in the run fits and we're making tackles, we should be good. We should be able to stymie that game plan.
Yeah. Ron Sample says need to get a lead, take them out of their run game.
Yep.
Could not agree more, man, for sure. Next point here, according to Next Gen Stats, keys to the game. Jordan Love and the Jaguars defense. It says Jordan Love has recorded a 114.3 passer rating when not blitzed this season. That's third best in the league, compared to a 61.8 when blitzed. That's 30th in the league, having been blitzed at the third highest rate in the league at 38.7%. Love has recorded the most EPA, plus 38.4, and yards per attempt, 9.3, when not blitz. When blitz, Love has recorded minus 36.4 total EPA. That's 31st in the league, and 4.8 yards per attempt. That's 30th in the league. Love leads the league with 11 passing touchdowns when not blitzed this season, compared to just 4 when blitzed. Matchup, the Jaguars have blitzed at the lowest rate in the league at 17.3%, with their season-high blitz rate, 31.4%, coming against the Bills in week 3. So that's kind of which came first, the chicken or the egg there, Tim. Are they going to continue down that path of not blitzing, or are they going to crank it back up like they did in week 3 against the Buffalo Bills and fire 30% blitz rate? I don't think we'll have a problem beating their blitz package. That's just me personally. We got 2 good tackles. I think Jordan's seasoned enough to handle it. I think when I see those numbers about how bad he's been against the blitz, I don't look at it like, oh no, he's playing horrible against the blitz. I look at it like this dude's due right now. So
yeah, and against good blitz packages too.
right.
You're talking about some of these defenses that Jordan's faced. This isn't the Jags. The Jags have no secondary or a weak secondary. We talk about their pass defense. It probably explains why they don't blitz very often. Probably because they don't trust the secondary. That if they're sending 5 or more, what's going to happen on the back end. And we all know Jay Money will get that ball out quick. If the pressure comes, he has a tendency to pad it sometimes or try to extend the pocket or extend the play, but he will fire that check to Josh Jacobs, or he'll hit Reed on a crosser and get the ball out, and we will progressively move down the field. So, I don't know. If the Jags dial it up, let's see. I've got faith in our boys. We got Nacho Libre out there. We got Josh Myers with his wrist taped up. We got Zach Tom. We got Big E. I feel good. Rasheed Walker. I think the boys are going to play well against this Jags defense, and I don't think they're going to run anything super exotic if they do dial up a blitz. So I think we should be able to handle it.
Yeah, I agree, man. Again, just got to show up, got to play, but I'm not overly concerned about it for sure. Trevor Lawrence and the Packers defense. Trevor Lawrence has been efficient when using play action this season, recording the 7th most pass EPA per dropback at plus 0.29 and 7th highest success rate at 57.4%. Without play action, Lawrence has recorded negative 0.13 EPA per dropback, that's 22nd in the league, and a 39.1% success rate, which is 27th in the league. The matchup is the Packers defense has allowed the 8th highest success rate against play action this season at 50%. So we are a little bit vulnerable to play action pass. They run play action pass really well. Again, we go right back to the default answer. You want to keep them out of play action, jump out to that early lead, right? You reduce, the effectiveness of that play action. If it's a close game, a 3-point game, play action is going to get those backers to bite all day long. That's one thing about Hafley's defense. They're playing very aggressive post snap. When it comes to running the football, they're really attacking the football. I think we're 9th in the league in run defense right now, according to yards per carry. So, play action is probably the way that Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars want to attack this Packers defense. Let's just make sure we keep them out of decent running situations so it's not as effective there.
Yeah, you hit it on the head. They go hand in hand, right? If they get the tank going there and we're not doing well against the run, it's gonna play to their favor, right? But if you want to run play action and naked boots off of no run game, go ahead. You'll make mistakes and we'll get you. So I think it's like you said, we got to jump on this team early and try and play from ahead, not from behind, and put them in a situation where they have to throw, and if they do dial up a play action here or there, we're not worried about the run because they're not in a position to run the football. They got to try and push that ball down the field because they're playing from behind. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Ron Samble in the chat says Love was awesome against the blitz last year. Something changed? Yeah, it's called an MCL sprain, I think, personally. Listen, he's fully healthy now, but still kind of getting back into the groove of things, right? I don't think the knee is hindering him at all, other than maybe just mentally a little bit. But you could see that first game, Tim, he was hobbling around and couldn't really drive through the pass. I'm sure he was worried about stepping too hard into the throw in case someone's coming at his legs there and might roll into a knee or what have you. I would say that's my best guess as to what may have changed from last year. What do you think, Tim? You got an opinion on that, man?
I think that, combined with the fact that maybe he's a little more confident in that arm, we've seen him pushing the envelope, right? Threading the needle. And I think maybe, when it comes to the blitz, maybe he's liable to just step up in the pocket and try and get that throw off as opposed to run out of there. I believe he can be a scrambler and a mobile quarterback when needed, but I think at the end of the day, if you asked him, he'd rather stand in that pocket and slice up a defense all day long. So, we'll see. But I'll tell you what, when he scrambled against the Texans, he looked good. And it made me finally feel like maybe he's a little bit more confident in the legs than he was maybe a couple of weeks ago. So I think there's some truth to what you're saying. Last year he was healthy for the most part. And, had a little bit more confidence in that pocket. When you have mobility, even if you don't use it all the time, at least it's there, and you can wiggle out of there and extend a play. But if you have any doubt in your footing or your knee or your ankle or anything, I can see there might be a little bit of hesitancy, and that's why we saw a couple of picks or throwaways that weren't throwaways, and getting a little flustered in that pocket because you don't have the option to just get out of there. So I think it's true.
Artie Ironminer says Love is very aggressive, fun to watch. I'm telling you, man, I can't stop going back and watching the 1990s Packers footage. Like it's been so long since we've had a quarterback that's gonna take those risks on a consistent basis. And listen, that's why we've won so many games too, because Rodgers was so good at protecting the football, not turning the ball over. But at the same time, Tim, I can't help but get excited every time Love goes out, throws a pick, then comes back the very next drive and just marches down the field and scores, launches a bomb to Watson. It's like, what the hell? This is awesome. This is so much fun to watch, man.
And you got to feel like confident in your team, right? Because look at how the defense is playing. Like we're ball hawks. So I'm sure Jordan's thinking in the back of his head, like, go ahead and take the shots where you can. If you turn it over, Our D might get a 3 and out. Give me the ball right back. We go right down the field again. So it's like a cyclical confidence that you have. That's kind of like complementary football, right? In its essence, you got a defense that you're, rough and tough and you feel good about them. As QB1, you can go out there and, put a ball into double coverage or triple coverage down the seam to Jaden Reed and not worry about it if you happen to get a tip ball or get a pick or something, because RD has a tendency to go out there and create turnovers and get the ball back.
Yeah, definitely. Reef in the chat says Lawrence is a running quarterback. He has the ability to run. Trevor's choice is not to run. I remember, man, he was I think he was the top high school recruit in the entire country when he came out of high school. And the dude is a mobile quarterback. He's obviously got huge size. He's like 6'5" or something like that. Big arm. Listen, I'm not one of these people that said they shouldn't have given him that contract. I personally think with the right situation, Trevor Lawrence he's got the ability to be a top 10 quarterback in this league. And the reality is, if you think they're top 10, you got to pay them like they're top 3. That's just the way the quarterback market works, right? Yeah. I don't think anyone was saying Jordan Love should be the highest paid quarterback in the league. But we as fans all knew that was coming because he's definitely a top 10 QB, and he could be the best QB in the league. It's possible. But the market will drive that price up. Same thing happened with Trevor Lawrence. That's just my personal opinion. I seem to be in the minority with that opinion. I hear more and more people talk about Trevor Lawrence is overrated. I personally think he's a pretty solid quarterback. But I haven't watched a whole lot of his tape in the pros, but just based off of past knowledge, I think he's pretty solid. Donovan in the chat says, Love makes watching football even more fun. I was telling the kiddo how lucky he is to have another Favre for him to grow up with. LOL.
I love it.
Yeah, you see some of these fan bases, Tim, and they have not had a good quarterback. My gosh, man, since World War One. You know what I mean? It's like
shout out to the Bears and Sid Luckman.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And maybe they finally got their guy. It's trending up. I'm excited to see. I hope Jaden Daniels plays tomorrow. That would be the Bears' luck that Jaden Daniels misses that game and they go out and beat Washington and everybody's like, see, the Bears are legit. And Jaden Daniels not going to play. But anyway, Daryl in the chat says Jordan Love has that poise, feeling more confident and having to trust his teammates. That does show how much he's progressed. Completely agree. Yep. And it's like seems like every other game, Tim, he's hitting 8 different receivers, 9 different receivers, right? That's indicative of 2 things. He's got trust in his teammates, but he's got trust in the system too. Matt LaFleur just over there playing chess all day long, man.
Yeah. And I think, we talk about how he got cheated out of his rookie season. Basically, he didn't get a lot of reps. We had the COVID year and all that stuff. And, Jordan kind of backing up AR-12. I think now, he's just to the point now where he's more sure of himself, right? Like he just, you work on processing the game as a young quarterback, right? And then you get to this point, which I believe Jordan's at right now, where now you anticipate it. Now you expect it. You expect that guy to drop in coverage, or you expect this guy to sugar at the line, or how to can out of a run play and go to a pass, or vice versa. You start to get that sixth sense. The game kind of slows down for you a little bit. lot of quarterbacks that struggle by this time in their career, year 4, year 5, they're already on the downswing. They're on their way out of the league. They're on a practice squad somewhere, or they're backing somebody up maybe. And that's all you hear from them. And I think Jordan is the polar opposite. I think the game's slowing down for him, and he's settling into, himself as a quarterback as he approaches that veteran status here in the NFL.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, man. Reef says Trevor hasn't focused in yet. If we had him, oh man, see that's the eyes the lens I'm looking at it through. Reef is like, people that say Trevor Lawrence is not a good quarterback. If Matt LaFleur had Trevor Lawrence in Green Bay, that son of a gun would be lighting it up right now. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yep.
And listen, I know Doug Peterson's a good quarterback coach and all, but it seems something's off with his system. You see the throws and even the decisions that Jordan's made. Listen, he's made some bad decisions this year, right? I think we would all agree. Of course, some would say that was a bad decision, that throw to Tucker Kraft the other day in the end zone where he threw it right through the safety's hands, essentially. Bro, that is a blast to watch happen right there, man. You talk about coming up off your seat. But, yeah, I'm with you.
Especially to hear him say he wanted that ball flatter and he kind of missed. And it's like, wow, you missed and it still got there.
And it was perfect. Yeah.
I love it.
And I love that he put so much juice on it, too, because if that ball gets tipped, it's not getting picked, right?
Right. Exactly.
Rather than putting too much loft on it, then it getting tipped up in the air, that type of thing. Ron Samble with the chat here says, I kind of want Mariota to beat the Bears. Haha. That's another good point, too. If Marcus Mariota starts and he somehow beats the Bears, that would be awesome. That'd be way better than Jaden Daniels beating them.
You see Donovan in the chat. It would make it that much sweeter.
There you go.
If Washington beat them without Jaden even playing, I love it.
I'm just looking at it. I'm looking at it the wrong way. That's all it is there. So I like it, man. Let's see. Last one, and we'll get back to the next gen stats. Philip H., appreciate y'all being active in the chat, man. This is awesome. Trevor Lawrence is a very good quarterback. He doesn't have all the tools he needs in coaching and up front, in my opinion. Yeah, it's a good point. Like, who's his top receiver?
Right.
We'll find out. Actually, I could tell you. I'll switch over to him right here. Top receiver, Brian Thomas, rookie, right? You got Christian Kirk, which I think we would all agree they overpaid for him. Evan Ingram's his top tight end, right? So we'll get to the player projections next. But, yeah, I think it's a good point, Philip. I do, man. All right, so let's talk about these for a second. These are the Next Gen Stats player projections, okay? So these are kind of the predictions for what these players are going to do. Jordan Love, passing yards, 257.9, passing touchdowns, 1.9, interceptions, 0.8, all right? So what that tells you is probably going to be somewhere, according to Next Gen Stats, the prediction is 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, probably be what you're looking at there from Jordan. Josh Jacobs, they're saying 69.1 rushing yards and a half a rushing touchdown. Also 2 catches for 17 yards is the projection there. Jaden Reed, 4.5 or 4.5 receptions, 56 yards, and it looks like 0.4 on the receiving touchdown projection. Romeo Dobbs, 4.1 receptions, 51.7 yards, which is kind of what we were looking at just a second ago, talking about how these two receivers specifically match up against the Jaguars defense. And then, of course, Tucker Kraft, 3.9 receptions, 40 yards, and 0.3 on the receiving touchdown projection. What do you think about those numbers there, Tim? I wish I could get it zoomed in a little bit better for you. I might be able to. Yeah, it's probably a little bit better there. What do you think about those numbers there, man? Anything you disagree with? I could see Jordan a couple touchdowns and an interception. I hope he doesn't have an interception. Don't get me wrong, but I could see how they came up with that.
Yeah, I get it. That's based on, recent experience, right? Kind of working. And I like how it's 0.8. So it's not quite at 1. Right. But and we talk about the Jaguars, their lack of pass defense, not lack of pass defense, but maybe less than stellar pass defense. So I think this is a great opportunity for Jay Money to have a clean game. I really do. And when you think about the weapons that we have, I firmly believe he can slice and dice that secondary. The key is going to be our O-line, keeping that pocket clean for him. And if he is pressured, how he deals with the pressure. But I think that's fair. And you look at Jacobs and Reed in Rome, these are pretty fair predictions, or not predictions, but projections. But we'll see, right? The game's not played on paper; it's played on the field, right? We'll see what happens tomorrow. But I don't see anything here that's cause for alarm or anything.
I agree. Let's switch over to the Jaguars side here now. Trevor Lawrence, 222.5 yards passing, 1.4 passing touchdowns, the same as Jordan Love, 0.8 in receptions. Rushing yards, Travis Etienne, 37.2. I wonder why they don't have Tank Dell there.
Yeah, that's what's interesting.
That's really interesting that they don't even have him listed.
He wasn't on the injury report, right?
I don't remember seeing it. Or Tank Bigsby, I'm sorry, not Tank Dell. Tank Big, that's really odd, right? That they don't have him listed in the projections. Maybe we'll dig into it here in a minute. We get to the PFF preview. It'll show the injury report. Maybe we'll see. Travis Etienne, 37.2 rushing yards, 0.3 on the rushing touchdown projection. Brian Thomas, 4.5 receptions, 64.8 receiving yards, only 0.4 on the receiving touchdown. Christian Kirk, 3.5 receptions, 43.7 on receiving yards. Evan Ingram, 4.8 receptions, 46.4 receiving yards. Tim, if there's a player in this passing game that concerns me a little bit, it's Evan Ingram because we struggle to cover those tight ends, right?
I agree. I mean, and you look at Kirk and Ingram, you talk about guys that are, marquee players in this league, maybe a little bit past their primes, but certainly threats in any offense. But I'm with you. When I look at these names, it's Evan Ingram. That's the concern I have. So, hopefully our boys are, the piss is hot tomorrow. We'll just put it that way.
Got to have the piss hot, no doubt about it, man. All right, let's see. We won't hit the performance trends. We got a bunch of key advantages here we can hit on real quick. And basically the first pass through here, this is the Packers offense against the Jaguars defense. Passing versus no blitz, Packers are number 1 in the league. Jaguars defense is 32nd. Overall passing efficiency, Packers offense is not. Jaguars defense is 32nd. Long passing, Packers offense is 5th. Jaguars defense is 31st. Passing versus pressure, Packers offense is 12th. Jaguars defense 32nd. Passing versus play action, Packers offense is not. Jaguars defense is 30th. Tim, I don't think we'll see this the rest of the year, man. You got a 5-star advantage in the key advantages as far as the Packers offense, the passing game here, man. That's this is starting to get to the point where it's like you might want to take Green Bay -4 and say they're probably going to beat them by more than 4. If these analytics prove to be true, right? I mean, that's a hell of a tilted field right there, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I'm a head coach, it's all the more reason for me to run the football all day because you think I'm going to throw it all day. I'm going to try and run the ball, but hey, we'll see what happens. It is cool to see this though, right? I mean, the Jags are basically, at the bottom or near the bottom in every category. And we're basically top 10 or teetering around top 10 in every category. So if there's any truth to the analytics, like you said, which I believe there is some validity to these breakdowns. I think we should boat race them. Really, we should. But I said trap game before. I hate to say it again. We have to address the elephant in the room. We got to show up. It's one thing to see all this on paper and talk about the matchups, talk about the analytics, but if our guys don't come to play, if the piss is not hot, if it's lukewarm, we could get caught with our pants down and end up taking an L. So I don't know, man, but this does look good. 5-star advantage for the Packers. So, I mean, realistically, I don't know, 47-10 or something, this game should be, right? But I don't want to do score predictions, but I'm just saying,
I hate talking about games like this because, like you said, when you look up tomorrow and we lose by 15, and it's like, of course we did, right?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Everything just seems to really be pointing in the Packers' favor. Hitting on the Jaguars offense against the Packers defense, passing versus no play action. Jaguars are 23rd. The Packers defense is 4th. Intermediate passing, the Jaguars offense is 32nd. The Packers defense is 16th. Rushing in the red zone, Jaguars offense is 22nd. The Packers rushing red zone defense is 6th best in the league. Passing versus pressure, the Jaguars are 19th. The Packers defense 4th. And then long passing, the Jaguars offense is 23rd. Packers defense is 5th. So we just talked about Packers offense versus the Jaguars defense according to Next Gen Stats. 5-star advantage across the board. Here, when it comes to the Jaguars offense against the Packers defense, 4-star advantage all the way across the board in favor of the Packers. So really interesting there. Passing, we won't read them all, But basically, Packers offense against the Jaguars defense out of what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It looks like roughly 10 different categories. Everything's tilted to the Packers' favor other than passing versus the blitz, which they're saying is no advantage because the Jaguars defense is 28th. And then when you look at the Jaguars offense, specifically passing, it looks like Packers have the advantage for everything but 3 categories and 1 that's a push. So everything but 4 categories, one of those 4 is push, and it's a slight advantage for the Jaguars offense in that regard. Running the ball, Packers have what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of the 10 advantages go to the Packers, 2 go to the Jaguars, and 2 are a push. And the Jaguars offense running the ball against the Packers defense. Here's where you're seeing it tilted a little more in favor of the Jaguars, as they have 5 of those categories in their favor. 3 are in favor of the Packers, and 2 are a push. So that kind of goes hand in hand with what we were just talking about of trying to slow down their running game, or at least keep it in check. I think you're giving them too much respect saying you need to slow it down, but you got to keep them in check and make sure that you play from ahead, get them passing the football, and let's let this defense cook. So,
absolutely.
All right. That's going to do it for hour 1. For those of you listening on the pod, we'll see you on the other side for hour 2. We appreciate y'all.